She stood in my driveway, phone in the air like a weapon, screaming at my wife in front of half the neighborhood. "You're under arrest for impersonating a police officer." The street went dead silent, neighbors frozen on their porches, coffee mugs halfway to their lips, and I swear, in that moment, my blood turned cold. My wife, who had spent a decade serving this county, was being accused of a crime by the president of our HOA. A woman with a clipboard and a purple floral blouse thought she had the authority to destroy everything we'd built. Let me back up. My name's David Miller, and when we moved to Pine Valley 8 months ago, I thought we'd found peace. Quiet cul-de-sac kids riding bikes, the smell of barbecues on Saturdays, all that suburban dream stuff. I work in finance, boring, predictable, reliable. My wife, Sarah, she's different. Strong, patient, the kind of person who can face chaos head-on and still stay calm. Most neighbors just thought she worked for the city, maybe a clerk or some office job, and we let them think that. What they didn't know was that Sarah's real job carried more weight than anyone could have guessed. Then there was Margaret Williams, 43, recently divorced, self-crowned queen of the HOA. The first time I met her, she was marching down the street with her clipboard tucked under her arm like it was the Bible. Rules weren't guidelines for her, they were holy law, and she was judge, jury, and executioner. Sarah whispered to me the day we met her, "That woman doesn't want a neighborhood, she wants a kingdom." She wasn't wrong. The war started over a car, Sarah's patrol car. After a brutal 12-hour shift, she'd pull into our driveway, drop her gym bag inside, and head straight for the shower. 10 minutes, maybe 20. No big deal, right? Wrong. To Margaret, it was an outrage. One morning, she showed up pounding on our door, curls bouncing, eyes blazing. "Mr. Miller, Section 4.3 commercial vehicles are prohibited." That's a violation. I tried explaining, tried being civil. It's temporary. Margaret, she just got home. She shoved a paper into my hand, $50 fine, bold red letters. That was the beginning. It escalated. The second time, she doubled it, $200. She wasn't just handing out fines anymore. She was watching. Photographing Sarah's car from across the street, stopwatch hanging around her neck like she was training for the Olympics. Then came the emails. Violation documented at 7:42. Still present at 7:58. Removed at 8:05. Day after day, like clockwork. At the next HOA meeting, she had a whole damn slideshow. Printed color photos of Sarah's car timestamps highlighted in yellow. She tapped a laser pointer like she was prosecuting a murder trial. Tuesday, 17 minutes. Thursday, 22 minutes. Saturday, shocking, 26 minutes. I stood up, tried to reason with the room, explained Sarah's shifts, the exhaustion, the temporary nature of it all. Margaret cut me off. "The law doesn't play favorites, Mr. Miller. If your wife wants special privileges because she wears a badge, maybe you should move somewhere. Rules don't matter." The way she said it, special privileges, it dripped with venom. And I heard a few neighbors snicker. That night, sitting in that folding chair with sweat on my palms, I realized Margaret wasn't going to stop. She wasn't after fairness, she was after us. Soon, it wasn't just fines, it was whispers. Sarah's co-workers started hearing about complaints filed against her, claims of abusing government property, corruption, kickbacks. Lies, pure lies. But neighbors bought into it. People who used to wave at me now crossed the street. Mrs. Green, who always asked about Sarah's work, suddenly couldn't even look me in the eye. One evening, Mrs. Rodriguez knocked on my door, twisting her hands, asking if everything was okay with the police. My jaw ached from the fake smile I forced. Inside, I was seething. Sarah tried to brush it off. Ignore her, David. She just wants attention. But ignoring Margaret was like ignoring a fire alarm. The noise only gets louder. She wasn't satisfied with gossip. She mounted a camera on her property, pointed straight into our driveway, recording our every move. She even tailed Sarah one morning, followed her patrol car down the street like some deranged stalker. That night, Sarah slammed her bag down and said, "This is harassment. This isn't HOA enforcement anymore. This has to stop." And then came the morning that broke me. Margaret marched into our driveway phone, raised shrieking, "This time I'm calling the real police. You're under arrest. Neighbors poured out of their houses like it was a parade. Kids clung to their parents' eyes wide. Sarah, still in uniform, still exhausted from a night shift, squared her shoulders. "Excuse me," she asked, voice steady. Margaret screeched louder, waving her phone like a badge. "You're impersonating an officer. You've been abusing that car, abusing your uniform." "I have the evidence." The crowd gasped. I felt my fists clench. "Margaret, for God's sake, you can't arrest anyone. You're not law enforcement." She whirled on me, eyes wild, spit flying. "Don't you talk to me about law enforcement. I've documented everything. This ends today." And for the first time in months, Sarah didn't just endure. She stared Margaret down and said, calm, chilling, "Mrs. Williams, you've just threatened to arrest a sworn law enforcement officer. Do you have any idea what you've done?" The silence that followed was heavier than any shout. That night, Sarah's patience finally cracked. Enough. No more playing defense. It's time to fight back. She laid out papers across the table, tapping her pen like a general plotting a battle. Operation Purple Blouse, she called it. We dug into bylaws, meeting minutes financial records. Sarah discovered that Margaret had unilaterally changed the HOA covenants without a vote, completely illegal. We traced fines straight into Margaret's personal account. $15,000 pocketed in 8 months. Kickbacks from contractors. Fraud, theft, tax evasion. While she paraded around with her clipboard, she was bleeding the community dry. I talked to neighbors, quietly asked if they'd had problems. The stories spilled out. The Morrisons fined for hanging laundry too long. The Pattersons penalized because their roses grew 2 inches too tall. Mrs. Rodriguez paying $300 because her son's broken car sat in the driveway overnight. Everyone had been her victim. And suddenly, I wasn't just angry for us, I was angry for all of them. The November HOA meeting was standing room only. The air buzzed like before a verdict. Margaret strutted in wearing her purple floral blouse, clipboard under her arm folder stuffed with photos. She launched right into it. The Miller family continues to flagrantly violate our rules. Same speech, same smug tone. Then I stood. My hands shook, but my voice didn't. How many of you remember voting on the new bylaws? Not a single hand. Murmurs spread, confusion, unease. That's because no vote ever happened, and these rules Margaret's been enforcing, they're illegal. Her smile faltered, but she snapped back. Emergency authority allows. That's when Sarah stood up. My wife, who had never spoken in a meeting, who most people barely knew. Calm, composed. She reached into her jacket, pulled out her badge, and held it up to the fluorescent light. My name is Sheriff Sarah Miller, Orange County, and I've been conducting a formal investigation into this HOA. The room erupted in gasps. Margaret's smirk shattered. Sarah laid it out point by point. Unauthorized bylaw changes, diverted fines, unreported income. Contractor kickbacks. She handed out copies of the evidence. Neighbors flipped through pages, bank deposits, testimonies, spreadsheets. Faces shifting from shock to fury. Mrs. Rodriguez stood trembling, holding her copy. You mean the $300 I paid? That went into her pocket. Sarah nodded. Yes, ma'am. The crowd exploded. Voices shouted, chairs scraped, people waving papers in the air. Mr. Patterson, one of the most respected men in the neighborhood, raised his voice. This isn't leadership. This is theft. Margaret pounded her clipboard, screaming, I am the president. I decide what's best for this community. But nobody listened anymore. Her power was gone. Sarah stepped forward, her badge gleaming. Mrs. Williams, you are hereby suspended from your role as HOA president, effective immediately. This evidence will be turned over to the county prosecutor. You will face charges. Margaret staggered back like she'd been struck. Papers spilled from her folder, photos of Sarah's car graphs of stopwatch times scattering useless across the floor. She clawed at them, desperately shrieking, You'll regret this. You'll drown in chaos without me. But no one defended her. Not one person. In that moment, she was stripped of everything. Her authority, her clipboard, her kingdom built on intimidation. All of it crumbled in the face of truth. And that was where it ended. No victory party, no celebration. Just silence. As Margaret stumbled out the door, her purple blouse wrinkled her rein over. Some battles aren't fought with fists or weapons. They're fought with truth. And truth always wins.